I'm Steve Lascazzo, and this is The Way. Thank you for joining me for a special edition of This is the Way podcast. This is the way we watched the Mandalorian and Grogu teaser trailer that was released Monday, September 22nd, 2025. The movie itself is months from being in theaters, and it's a teaser, not a full trailer. But we're about 8 months out, almost exactly. Principal photography is finished, but there may be pickups and reshoots that haven't been reported yet, but we'll hear about and include in one of our news update podcasts. But now we have a trailer. Some of the post-production work has been completed, and some scenes may not have needed much. It's only 1 minute and 35 seconds on YouTube, and that's how it's embedded directly on the StarWars.com website from the Star Wars YouTube channel. I think the scenes we see in the teaser were picked specifically because they contain the first computer work in post-production, or have the effects done practically, and most of them, not all, are from what was shown at Star Wars Celebration in Japan earlier this year. Now, I saw a report that this was supposed to come out last Friday, and Disney and Lucasfilm were considering delaying it because of the suspension of a late-night broadcaster, but on the same day that the suspension was announced being lifted, the teaser debuted, and it was advertised through Star Wars social media. Not only did I take a look, but I shared it with my daughters in the afternoon after their school day, and then when my wife got home from work, I showed her too. So, I produced the podcast, I got everything ready. Let's go ahead and talk about it here. This first trailer for the movie starts off with a shot of a new Razor Crest approaching the X-Wing base on Adelphi that we've seen in The Mandalorian Season 3. A new Razor Crest. We haven't seen one since Season 2 when it was destroyed from orbit. Now, this one has a new paint scheme. It's got yellow striping on the top. It is also shinier, so it resembles the N1 Naboo starfighter style ship that we saw Din Djarin get in the Book of Boba Fett. Now, this might also just be a newer model, but newer only means that, the Razor Crest, we heard, was ancient, or not ancient, but old technology because it didn't have a beacon and it wasn't able to be tracked by the Empire or the New Republic. So newer might just be, might mean a few years. I think the base is clearly Adelphi, though. We're showing a scene of Grogu and a helmeted Din Djarin on a beach. I don't know if it's the same planet. Grogu is looking through a rifle scope, but then what we're shown looks like it's seen through a binocular viewfinder. There are post-Imperial stormtroopers on this planet, that the one that we're seeing from the viewfinders, because one looks like it's wearing a sandtrooper style helmet, almost like the snowtroopers, where it comes down and fits on his head. They're guarding some cargo in front of what looks like an office building, and there are numbers on the top of the viewfinder that seem to show 61675, the letter O, not 0, 1526. No idea what those numbers mean. There are also numbers on the bottom, and I went frame by frame to check them out as the scope seemed to be focusing and dialing in. And it ranged from 164 to 166, 163, 160, 164, and then another numeral on the end, 1646, 1647, 1648. Then there's a cut to black. Now, I don't think all of this is nostalgia, unless you count going back about 5 years as nostalgia. We saw the Razor Crest destroyed in Season 2, but it was a fan-favorite new vehicle. We love Grogu. Grogu is being cute here, but that's been the case since very early in Season 1, and this show is only max 5 years and a few months. Almost 6 years, I guess. It was almost 6 years ago that Disney Plus debuted The Mandalorian. We see the Stormtroopers. We love to see these guys get taken down. And again, it's worth noting, Grogu was looking through a scope, but the shot of the troopers was clearly from binoculars, and Grogu and Din Djarin are shown on the beach, but there seems to be grass in the foreground of the binocular shot. We've seen a lot, and we're only 15 seconds into this trailer. There's a cut to black, and throughout the trailer or the teaser, we're going to see it's going to say like, this is the way, and there's going to be different words on screen and stuff like that. So some of them are just cuts to black. And after the first cut to black, we're seeing a dark tunnel. It's a small one, though, because the Anzellan that we see is almost the height of this tunnel, and he's leading Grogu through it. Then we get another cut to black, and we see Sigourney Weaver seated at the booth. I don't think she's holding a menu, but it could be. It looks more like a star chart or something like that. She looks up. Someone's approaching. Grogu then climbs up on the opposite bench seat and sees a snack, but it was Din Djarin who was approaching. He's now shown seated, and it appears that we are indeed inside the Adelphi base because there's a rebel symbol over his shoulder. We do not hear dialogue between Weaver's character and the Mandalorian. Instead, this is all about showing Grogu focusing on this snack. He's trying to snag it using the Force. Weaver's character reaches over, stops it from moving across the table without breaking eye contact with Din Djarin, and then looks over. She's probably mid-sentence in dialogue. Again, we're not hearing it. So she gives Grogu a look, and then we hear him express his dissatisfaction. It is very smart to show cute Grogu. Everyone loves him. You might not love him as much as some other people, but he is very marketable, especially to young kids. And if there's any chance that I get to show my kids this movie or bring my kids to this movie, it's going to be because they love Grogu. Instead of a cut to black this time, there's a cut to a Lucasfilm limited slate. Then there's a shot of a puddle on a city street, and there's Aurebesh signs reflected in the water, so they're upside down and backwards, and then the Mandalorian's boot stomps into the scene. The reflections clearly show a sign that says spice and one that says Thedan, so maybe it's Thedan spice. Reddit tells me there was an ad for the Halcyon Galactic Star Cruiser in the scene. I couldn't make out all of the... It does look like that could be the case, and that's hilarious. The hotel was shuttered more than a year ago, and it's adjacent to the Florida Disney Hollywood Studios property. I never got to go to it. Oh well. I could speculate about the other signs in the scene, but look, I cannot make out the letters very clearly. Some others, I'm sure, will do that. They'll clear up the image, and they'll be able to read it. They're upside down, reflected, and a little bit out of focus. I did my best. I've only got 2 monitors that are less than 25 inches, so I did my very best. The Mandalorian then is apparently inside one of those buildings he was approaching, maybe the Spice Den. He kicks someone into the bar, and in the background there's a male AT-AT. It's a race with horns, and his skin seems red. I basically Googled male race horns, and then I looked through the images on Google to see, and it looks like it's an AT-AT. Then Grogu leaps into the frame and onto Mando's shoulder, and it's worth noticing that the guy he kicks over Mandalorian's shoulder looks like it's the bar that we see the character end up flying into. So I don't know if these are 2 of the same scenes. It might be earlier or later in the fight, or they're just maybe multiple bars. But if you look at the shot of him crash, the character or alien crashing into the wall, it looks like he's crashing into the wall that's over the Mandalorian's shoulder. Okay, the next shot is another reptilian-looking alien that I couldn't place and had to Google. Reddit says it's an Amanaman, and it was seen in Jabba's palace. I have seen Return of the Jedi hundreds of times, and I just don't remember seeing this Cobra-like character alien in his palace. I just don't remember it. I have freeze framed and looked at all of the different aliens. I just don't remember it. A Google search told me that a character of this race appeared in a recent comic book run. I do not read comics. Apparently he's an informant for Lando Calrissian in that comic book. I don't think Lando will appear in this movie in any way, shape, or form. I don't even think he'll be referenced. Could be wrong. It's also apparently native to a planet called Meriden and, what we've seen before in the movies, Utapau. The next shots are from inside the Razor Crest. We see Grogu pushing buttons, being cute. Now he's helping in the cockpit. Remember, it was once a running gag that he was always messing around in there in seasons 1 and 2. So Din punches it. The Razor Crest dives through the clouds, evading fire, and they're either TIE interceptors or U-wings. I couldn't tell. We then see Grogu surface from some water, and then he starts swimming underneath the surface in the next clip. The next shot, you have to slow it down to see who it is. It's Zeb. He's the Lasat, first seen in animation in the Star Wars Rebels show as part of the Ghost Crew, led by Hera Syndulla. We saw her, but not Zeb in Ahsoka. But we saw Zeb first in Season 3 of The Mandalorian in live action, when Captain Carson Teva was chatting with him in the Adelphi Pilot's Tavern, maybe the same room that Din Djarin is talking to Sigourney Weaver's character. Zeb in the scene is taking down troopers with his bow rifle, which combines an electrostaff and a blaster rifle. It's a weapon sacred to the warriors of his race. It's also another classic hallway scene. We've had some great ones in the new Star Wars, like Rogue One and Darth Vader, and The Mandalorian Season 2 with Luke Skywalker. Those are pretty memorable ones, right? Grogu is certainly a popular character, but the Anzellans have also been quite popular as well, because the next shot is of Grogu riding sidecar with two of them, and then there's a third driving a small speeder at sunset on what looks like a desert planet. It could be Navarro. Grogu, after all, first met this species there on Navarro in Season 3 of The Mandalorian because they were trying to fix up IG-11 into IG-12. Now, this movie is set before Rise of Skywalker by many, many years, and before The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. The Anzellans' appearance in Season 3 of The Mandalorian is around this same time frame and set before all of those movies as well. So this canonically is one of the first times that we've seen the Anzellans, even though the first time we saw them was Rise of Skywalker. It's a little weird, but I think you get it. This is taking place before the First Order unveils itself, too. Now, could the burgeoning First Order still be a looming threat behind the scenes? It could be, but remember, from what we've seen in Season 3, there's not a lot of help. Carson Teva actually does believe the Mandalorian that there is this thing going on behind the scenes. But even though there was this base on Mandalore, it was destroyed in a fiery cataclysm, remember? So I don't know how much proof there is. Plus, there's all of those people working, those former Imperials working to ingratiate and get themselves into positions of power in the New Republic. So there's still a lot of corruption, and a lot of people take a blind eye. They see Leia as just someone, oh, you are a relative of a Sith Lord, so we can't trust you. We don't know who the enemy's going to be, but we do know that some of the same characters are going to be involved. It's just, this is set so far before The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker that none of the familiar characters like Phasma or even General Hux are going to be in this movie. They can't be. They're too young. So the next shot is a shot of Din Djarin. He's jetpacking to what I think is a U-wing. Now, I don't think he was heading into a ship that was attacking him. So this ship, so it may not be U-Wing, and I'm not 100% sure if it's U-Wing. This is one of my blind spots. I don't know all of the vehicles. So this could be an entirely different sequence from that air battle. I hope he's not abandoning the Razor Crest, but maybe he jetpacks out. I think you see Grogu, though, so I don't think it's like he jets out and Grogu pilots the Razor Crest. I think this is a different scene.
Yes! Impressive.
After the U-Wing shot, we head to an arena. Actually, it's a crowd shot, and then a Hutt is in the center of an arena, raising his arms and shouting. This is reportedly Rada the Hutt, son of Jabba, and this is a character that we saw in the Clone Wars animated movie that also featured Ahsoka Tano. Remember, she and Obi-Wan and Anakin helped rescue Rada in that movie. He can't have inherited his father's grip on the crime syndicates because we saw the Book of Boba Fett and how there was a bit of a power vacuum on Tatooine, so much so that relatives of Jabba came to negotiate the return of the control of those crime organizations from Boba Fett. Now, Rada might have just decided to go into business for himself, running a betting ring on some planet. It might be on Ord Mantell. Why do I say that? Well, because when we see Grogu sitting there eating a snack, it's called a mix, I think. It looks like popcorn. They have this for sale at Batuu. So it's basically looks like flavored popcorns. And in the Bad Batch animated show, Omega, the only living female clone of Jango Fett. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, all of this might sound crazy to you, but you have to watch those other shows to understand what I'm talking about. She's a living female clone of Jango Fett, and along with Clone Force 99, it's set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. She's eating this thing in one of the episodes, and they call it Mantell Mix. It's from Ord Mantell. Now, Batuu has like Galaxy's Edge Mix or Batuu Mix or something. So the mix is something that's specialized to whatever planet. So this could be Mantell Mix, which means the fighting pit could be on Ord Mantell. We then see Din Djarin fighting vault guards. These appear to be mechs. There's a red view screen on the head, and that recalls for me the creature on Mandalore that we see in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Now, that one was a spider, of course, but these kind of match in theme. They appear to be more like oversized battle droids, so they're not the same creepy spider-looking thing, and I think they're just there to guard the vault. And it's a circular door that looks like a bank vault, and that's because there's a Hutt symbol on it. And I'm thinking that this is where they hold their riches. So this may be underneath the fighting pit, the arena, or maybe if the street scene we saw earlier was on a Hutt homeworld, maybe this vault is on Nal Hutta or Nal Shaddaa. It's worth mentioning the Ambin rifle that Din Djarin fires at one of these guards makes almost no dent. I mean, that thing is a very powerful rifle in universe. It vaporizes living tissue, but it hardly makes a dent on this creature.
Okay, then. Next
is a scene with the Mandalorian fighting a creature we first saw in A New Hope on the Dejarik, the holochess board. And we're talking like in the little game between R2 and Chewbacca. This appears to be a Mantellian Savrip. So yes, I had to look up the name, and Mantellian is a reference to Ord Mantell. So I think that lends credence to this being on Ord Mantell. And it appears that Mando was at this arena to do more than just watch. The next action switches to the inside of an AT-AT cockpit, where Din Djarin and Grogu escape out of the top hatch as an explosion is set off. We see them jet away as it explodes. The next shot we see is probably not actually connected because the Imperial Walker that's tumbling off the cliff seems to do so because the foot pad has been disconnected from the leg. And there's also not a giant explosion in the belly of the AT-AT, even if it's smoking from underneath. You can see this at 110 on the video. I've also heard that there's an extended sequence that was shown at Celebration. I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen a leaked copy of it. But that's what I hear, is that there's a longer sequence where the Mandalorian is apparently fighting his way from the back of the AT-AT all the way to the front. So this could be a different walker. There was also a report that one of the lines heard in that scene shown at Celebration was, Walker 3 is down. So we see 3 walkers on that side of the mountain, and the first one goes down. It's probably not from that fight.
Very well.
The next thing that we see is the movie title, and it comes up from the bottom of the screen over a star field. It looks very 1950s sci-fi serial to me. And it says Forged for IMAX. Then we get the tag scene of the trailer, and it is Grogu shooting what looks like the training paint gun that he used on that one planet where he was being trained with the covert, with the younglings. He shoots that paint gun into the eye of what I think is a subterranean species of Gundark. Maybe a smaller one that doesn't have as much color to it because it's underground and in this grimy tunnel. Grogu shoots him right in the eye. And yeah, it's only got one eye, so it's right in the center eye. It shrieks, tries to shake it off, and then the Anzellan with Grogu sends us out with a nice one-liner.
Good shot, baby.
The final slate shows us May 2026. And that's it. Now, I liked this trailer. I haven't loved everything that Disney and Lucasfilm have put out, but they've really disappointed me with their employee politics and politics in general. But Star Wars still makes me happy. The Mandalorian show was the first thing that I had seen in a long time that made me feel like something that was someone who was creating it liked the same things that I did. Do you know what I mean? I liked The Force Awakens, and I thought it had a lot of promise, and Episode 8 just, oh my gosh, I still remember it, and I'm thankful that I got to see it with my dad. We both had the same reaction. It was just awful. And I saw it again in the theaters with a friend, and I still thought it was awful. I allowed it for a long time to sap my joy from Star Wars. And I felt like Rise of Skywalker was mostly an attempt to right the wrongs done by Johnson, but it still wasn't great. But at least it left me with a better taste in my mouth. The Book of Boba Fett's first few episodes were telling this interesting story about how the Tuskens were largely misunderstood and mistreated. I thought that had potential. Then the last few episodes shifted to a reunion of the Mandalorian and Grogu, and it wasn't terrible. Just felt like a different season. Andor, phenomenal. The first season and the second season, great. I liked Rogue One. I didn't hate Solo. I liked a lot of Ahsoka. Season 3 of The Mandalorian, it left things in a weird place, I guess. I mean, you can always tell more bounty hunting stories, but for some strange reason, they don't seem to want to do that. And they canceled Rangers of the New Republic, which seemed to be exactly that kind of setup. But Lucasfilm and Disney's awful politics got in the way. I want this movie to succeed. And all it has to do is be enjoyable. It doesn't have to tie into lore. It just has to avoid retconning things that we know and love. I don't need nostalgia every 5 minutes. But it would be dumb to avoid it if it fit the story better than something they come up with and make because they just don't want to show, oh, well, this was in the originals. Now, if this movie does not succeed, I don't know, is Disney going to finally get the hint they have to stop tinkering? I don't think so. Because I think Lucasfilm's headquarters being so far left tells me they're delusional. And I'm not going to pretend it doesn't bother me. There's a wrong answer. There actually is a wrong answer, and it's to side with anyone expressing joy over the death of free speech, and then crying foul when one of their own is just given a timeout. And if you think I'm bringing politics into that, as I said at the beginning, this trailer was delayed because of what I'm talking about. And I think that's fair game.
Your voice is mighty familiar. Did you used to fly a Razor Crest?
I do wonder Is Carson Teva going to make an appearance? I haven't heard anything from Paul Sun-Hyun Kim. He may be just being coy about it, or we might hear more. I mean, again, we're 8 months out, so a lot more could come out in the days leading up to the movie. But at this point, that is a question I have. So that's why I included his voice there. Now, if you think I've missed something in the trailer or want to participate in discussion with a comment about Star Wars, the trailer, or this channel, send email to thisisthewaypodcast@gmail.com. There are other ways to interact with This Is The Way podcast, like X, Facebook, Instagram, and our handle is usually at This Is The Way Pod. We also have a small Discord server for the podcast as well. I'm not as active on there. I do game, but I'm just not as active in that space.
Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
The Bible verse for this episode, and yes, in case you're wondering, all of my future podcasts are going to include a Bible verse, because I think, and I know it really doesn't have anything to do with Star Wars. I get that. And for some people, it's going to turn them off. But this is a way for me to expose some people to the actual words from God. The actual Bible, the one that's inspired millions and millions of people. And I just want to show people that there are applications to your daily life, and that I think if you put yourself into studying the Word, not only will your life get better, not because it's a magic, it's a book of magic. This has nothing to do with that. But you'll feel better about your life. You'll understand your purpose more, and it will soften your heart, and you will start to allow yourself to feel the pull of the Holy Spirit. And that is my hope. That yes, I love Star Wars probably the most out of everything that this world has to offer. I love Star Wars. I love thinking about Star Wars. I wish I was in Star Wars. So much of that. But the ultimate goal is for everyone to get to heaven. And you can't do that if you don't accept that Jesus died for your sins, and then he was resurrected. He resurrected himself. He is the living God. He is not dead. Jesus is alive. We say it every Easter. He is risen. He is risen indeed. He's real. He loves you, and he wants to have a relationship with you. So, again, the Bible verse for this episode, Numbers chapter 9, verse 22, in honor of the trailer being released on September 22nd, 9/22, right? So it says, whether it was 2 days or a month or a longer time, that the cloud continued over the tabernacle, abiding there, the people of Israel remained in camp and did not set out. But when it lifted, they set out. What does this have to do with Star Wars? I don't know that it has a lot to do with Star Wars, but the cloud that they're talking about was God's divine presence in the camp of the Israelites. Go back and read Numbers. Go back, first read Genesis and Exodus. Also read Numbers. It's one of the first 5 books of the Bible. It's part of the Torah, and you may not agree with Jewish tradition or Christian tradition, but go and read it if you want context. So whenever this cloud, it was a cloud by day, fiery cloud by night, whenever it was sitting over the tent, they stayed. Then when it moved, they moved. How crazy is it? I mean, don't you wish you had that kind of guidance today? And now, can you imagine how easy life would be if we just had that kind of sign from God? No guesswork. No, should I stay? No. Should I go? No. You're literally following God in that case. But would it really be that easy? Is that what you want from God? Because time and time again, we're shown in the Bible, God was faithful and he was rescuing his people. And time again, even almost immediately after miracles, we are shown how disobedient the Israelites were. I have the feeling that we'd still be finding ways to fail, even if he was a cloud going before us. I guess I'd like to see if that would be the case, because, look, I've been doing podcasts for a long time, and I've done a baseball podcast called Baseball Raised DO for an entire season of baseball for the Rays. It was like, I'm at like 157 or 158 games. And when all is said and done, it'll be almost 180 podcast episodes through that baseball season. And we're over 200 episodes of This Is the Way podcast. I still don't know exactly what the purpose is, but I'm acting in faith. So I'm moving without a cloud, and I'm just hoping that by continuing to study the Word, that God will reveal His will for me. I'm not doing this to perform magic, but I'm doing this because I want to know my purpose, and this is the best way for me to understand it. I know what I'm good at, and this is one of the things I'm good at. I'm a broadcaster. I'm trained at it. I have a passion for it, and I have a passion for Star Wars. So I am trusting that I may not see the fruit in the form that I think in my head, but I am trusting that God has got this, that God will put me where He wants me. All I got to do is follow Him, right?
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way. This is the way. This is the way.
Thank you so much for joining me for this special edition of This Is the Way podcast regarding the recently released trailer for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out in May of 2026. I'm your host, Steve Lascauso, and this has been a special edition of This Is the Way podcast. May the Force be with you always.